Now you got to watch what you're saying, Jim. It's being recorded.
PG Jim coming out. But no, I think if you take into consideration all those different things, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, home values are still really high.
Really high.
Um, I think one of the interesting things to look at is a lot of economists say that we're looking at a 5% increase coming in throughout the year, yet we're going to be at low inventory continuing through the year. So I think you're going to have a lot of this where you're going to have a little bit of a give and break, just kind of across the board. I think agents really have to pay attention to what's happening in certain areas and certain subdivisions. I think this could be problematic for agents that aren't really paying attention to inventory just in a real micro setting.
100%. You know, you could speculate all day long on why. I think the reality is it is low. And I'm not really sure that I've heard everything from people don't want people back in their houses because of the latest outbreak to honestly, my opinion is the habits or the lifestyle of the homeowner has shifted a little bit, and they're spending more time in their house. They're probably staying in their houses a little bit longer than they have in the past. We certainly have scared everybody from selling their houses a little bit because they're afraid they'll have nowhere to go, right? So all these factors, you could speculate all day long. The reality is, I think we're going to see sales come down a little bit just for the simple fact there's nothing for them to buy. And ultimately, our saving grace will be if the agents get busy and new listings come to the market, that'll cause our industry to thrive. If that doesn't happen, our industry will stall a little bit in the home sales just because of the inventory situation, supply and demand. It goes back to high school economics. So Jim was talking about this a little bit. And I see this being really interesting. So that the rent versus buy, we forever as real estate agents said, hey, let me show you, you're wasting all this money on renting. You certainly should buy a house. And we've got graphics and lenders that put things together for us over the years. And that gap is starting to shrink a little bit. Are y'all seeing that?
Yeah, and we kind of saw this once before. I think it was back in 2014. This article kind of came out, and really the same concept. I think this hits. If you look at our younger generation, that they talk about well, they can't save enough for down payments because of school debt or whatever it may be now. I think this is a big conversation for our younger generation. Not to say that it doesn't affect older generations, but I really think that just kind of looking at different movements within society, I think this is a bigger conversation there.
Yeah.
I also think it's more than just the home price. I think it's plan B is becoming plan A. And so there's people going in with the intent to buy, and with the shortage there, I was in that situation, wanted to buy. I couldn't find anything, I was going to be forced to rent. But just the buyer behavior has changed so much over the past couple of years. So yes, price, and sometimes they don't have a choice.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, what's interesting that's going on in our industry is we've always had I'll say sex appeal around investing in real estate was always a hot conversation. Well, the institutional investor has gotten really hot and heavy. And what we're seeing on a national scale is if 10 houses are bought up by institutional investors, whether it's iBuyers or Zillow offers or Open Door or whatever, 2 out of the 10 are never coming back into the market. 20% of those are staying with institutional investors, which in turn go into the rental pool, right? Whether it's Airbnb or long-term rent or buy and hold. And it's really pulling a lot of inventory out of the market for first-time home buyer, which is really the rent versus buy sector.
Yeah, and I think one of the interesting trends coming up, and we're starting to see this coming through planning and zoning in some different subdivisions around the area, is for instance, down in Roy City, there's a subdivision that's been proposed. It's about 1,000 homes, and 400 of those homes are slated just for rental community. And so I think you're exactly right there. And I think on the investment side, there is such a slowdown of, well, we don't see what we want, so we're just going to go out and create it. And so there's a lot of this in college towns, just rental communities. And I think we're going to start seeing it just pop up around different areas.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, as a real estate professional, houses in HOA subdivisions or in major metropolitan areas that have condo associations and things like that, a lot of them have rent restrictions.
Yeah.
And we don't like that sometimes as a real estate agent, because we want to be able to lease a house out later or buy it for a rental. And then there's certain areas that has given us the Heisman, if you will, that says no investor. That might be a saving grace in the future.
Yeah. You've got Signal Ridge just next to the office that just this last year said, we're not going to allow anybody to renew their leases. And you're starting to see the same thing out in Travis Ranch, that conversation happening. So I think you're exactly right.
100%. All right. So let's jump into some numbers. All right. So Rockwall County, let me make it bigger here. 75 active listings as of yesterday, 2 coming soons, 4 got a contingent contract, 25 under option, 44 pending. So we're picking up a little bit here on pendings, but sold's considerably dropped. Obviously, middle of the month, for whatever reason, we've trained real estate agents to close houses at certain times of the month. It's always happened, whatever. Do what?
The lenders have trained us to close at the end.
I think they, honestly, it really goes back to FHA and VA loans, because it penalized a buyer if they didn't close towards the end of the month. But conventional and cash, it matters nothing.
Right? Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I was hoping the trend line from last week to this week on new listings would continue going up. It's not. It's plateaued, stayed flat. We're seeing the solds come down, so that is okay in the sense that it keeps the inventory constant in the marketplace. But you saw pendings go up and you saw contracts go up. So depending on the relationship here, it'll be interesting to watch over the next couple of weeks what happens between the gap between active listings and what's coming off the market. So one of the most important concepts, if you've not studied numbers before, there's a relationship between new signs going into the yard and signs coming out of the yard. And that's as simplest we can talk about it. So it's a good thing for us right now if we're putting more signs out than taking out of the yard. We need that inventory as an industry to climb. Anything you see here, guys?
No, I peeled back just a little bit deeper and looking at what you just said, just the pure new listings coming on, and looking at it from a perspective of just Rockwall County, we're probably about 10% short of where we should be. Now, we may have a run coming in at the end of the month, but normally for what we do in January, we're about 10% short. So that's not a huge gap to make up. But also just looking there at the pendings, to give a little contrast, we're at about 15 to 20% short of where, when you're looking percentage wise, where Dallas County and Collin County is currently. And if you look back in December, though, we were also about 10 or 12% higher than they were on the pending side. So this could be a little bit of a market just average out. We had a bit of a run the previous month. If all things average out, this is what it is. Or it could be that we need to just kind of buckle in, like you said earlier, of maybe just a little bit of a stall in the market. This could be the precipice of it, or it could just be everything's normal, and we'll see in the next couple of weeks probably.
I think we'll see it the next couple of weeks. Dallas County, obviously, it's got more inventory.
Sure.
You're seeing the same thing. If you look here,
Mhm.
the new active listings tapered off a little bit. The pendings went up, the contracts went up. Solds actually held a little bit stronger in Dallas County than it did in Rockwall County. But at the end of the day, we're wanting this blue line to take off, and it's not. So we're all just kind of holding our breath, watching the market. If you look at Collin County, look at that blue line tapered off.
Yeah.
Green line sold, stayed constant, contracts up.
Yep.
The interesting thing is this relationship between the green and the blue line. You know, if you're selling more houses than you got active, that's not good if these lines cross, right? So
Right.
you can see that at the beginning of the year, but that was an anomaly because it was just the end of the year sales, right? So keep an eye. I'll remind everybody, if you go to the website, therealestatestats.com, it goes directly to this and you can take a look. We track Rockwall, Collin, Dallas, Denton, Kaufman, Hunt, and Henderson. So Henderson County, same kind of deal. New listings tapered off, contracts are up, right? So just same story, every county a little bit different. Real estate's always a hyper local game. Let's leave it at that. The teaser last week, and Erika, I'm coming to you. We talked about what a power buyer is. So explain what a power buyer is.
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Well, it's the investor group that we were just talking about. You know, they go in and buy 10. It's the iBuyer programs. It's the Zillow offers, things like that. It's those. I don't know. Money's an option, or money's not an option, or what is that? Money's no object type buyer.
Yeah, I define it a little bit different. I think, or Jim, you got a definition you'd like to add?
Not really.
Here's the reality of what power buyer does in our industry. So blazing hot, I call it the Hunger Games real estate market.
Yeah.
I got a buyer who either has to sell their house or it just can't compete with cash. First time home buyer needs to put leverage or a loan on the property, is losing out in multiple offer scenario because cash is king.
Mm-hmm.
Power buyer brings the option to be able to offer and negotiate as an all cash offer, even though you're not. And what that means is these companies will buy the house as cash, but they want you to do the loan with them. So they turn around and flip the property back to you at a pre-negotiated price. One of the biggest examples of this would be Homeward. Homeward's probably one of the bigger examples. Ribbon is one a lot of lenders bring to the table.
There's a new one.
The iBuyers obviously are buying as cash, right?
Mm-hmm.
And these are tools that give the real estate agent the opportunity to compete if they want to go down that route. Here's the thing. Power buyers is a little bit like buying real estate with a hard money loan. You're going to pay more points. However, if you're in a real estate market where it's the only way you can get into a house, it might be something you'd look at. I'm not saying it's a huge segment of our industry right now, but I'm telling you, it's a trend you should pay attention to and be aware of. If you're doing fiduciary duty to your buyers, you should know these options, just like you should know all loan programs. You should know what a 203K loan is. You should know, you know what I mean? These are just you being educated in what you can bring to the table to help your buyers, because I'm telling you, it's going to be the Hunger Games till at least the summer.
Yeah.
Have y'all done deals with any of these?
We've been approached by several different iBuyer programs to use their products, and so it's definitely something that's on the rise. One thing I wanted to point out, if somebody reads this article, is they talk about just the bump that happened in Q3. And I want to point out what happened to Zillow in Q3.
Yeah.
Zillow last year, and I had to write down the numbers. Q1, they bought 1,800 homes. Q2, 3,600 homes. And then Q3, they bought 9,700 homes. And so Q3, I just said in June, we started seeing home prices go down. They are caught with inventory of, last time I saw what they said, 7,000 homes. And they were upside down by about 7% on each one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
You know what's interesting, just kind of, I'm sorry, you have more to your point?
Oh, no, I was just going to say, so to say that there was this big bump in Q3, it'd be interesting to see if you segmented out what Zillow did there and brought it back into the end. But I think regardless of that, we are going to see this kind of be a mainstay, and they have caps on what they do. So it's almost like any other lending program.
Sure. Well, here's the thing. If you're in the MLS at all, do you see properties that are owned by Open Door? I do. They're putting them in the MLS. I'm not sure I've seen one owned by Zillow. Have you?
No, they're trying to find a large institutional buyer
Yes.
just to buy them all from.
So all those properties are not coming back to the MLS,
Yeah.
which speaks to our low inventory, right?
Mm-hmm.
So just FYI, interesting conversation. All right, let's get crazy for a minute. What on earth is this metaverse?
Oh, I was so glad to see this.
My wife, let me set the stage. So my wife, we're sitting on the couch Saturday night and says, do you want to buy some digital art? And I said, what are you talking about? She said, yeah, this is fine art in the digital space. And I said, how much money are we talking? She goes, oh, quite a few $1,000s. And I went, I'm not buying digital art in a digital world for quite a few $1,000s. It's collectible. And I went, okay, I'm either out of touch or there's this whole world, and I'm not, because I'm aware of what's going on, but there's this whole digital world where people are buying houses in a digital world, Jim.
Houses, land. We will
Yeah,
have
land.
virtual real estate agents to handle these projects. And so if you want to see, like, if you're putting together a vision map of where you want to go in the future, like this is like a nice little segment you can start like getting into. But you hit it. It's not just houses and land, it's art, it's trading cards, and I thought this was crazy when I saw it. It is horses. You can buy, they were selling horses on this platform for $30,000 a piece early last year.
So help me make sense of this. I'm not really buying a horse.
Oh no,
but I'm buying a horse?
digital horse
Buying a
that will
virtual
race.
horse.
Do I get to ride my virtual horse?
Your virtual person can ride your virtual horse.
But they resold two of these horses last year, one for $115,000 and another for $235,000. This is a crazy realm, but y'all, I bought into this about 3 or 4 years ago, and if I would have just kept my money in it, I think I put about 500 in. It'd be worth about 25 grand. Just how much this platform has gone up. There's a lot of momentum there. There's a lot of big companies here. Atari has entered in the stage. Facebook has changed. They're changing their platform to metaverse. There is a big movement coming this direction. A lot of us may not see it, but a lot of us will. Our Gen Z and that generation, they're going to use it, and it's going to just trickle up like everything else.
So they buy houses in a virtual reality world, and there'll be a real estate agent that makes a commission on that?
There will be some sort of broker there that will make a commission on that. Yes.
All right.
But
So-
it's virtual currency though, right? Like you have to use Bitcoin, things like that to purchase, correct? It's all the space virtual or
if you want to get into
crypto.
nerd talk on it, it's the big company out there right now. There's a couple of them, but the big one's called Decentraland, and they use a digital currency called Mana Land. And so everything will take place on the blockchain. You'll use your mana to purchase everything, and it'll go through blockchain. And there's going to be a lot of regulation happening. If you see it, you're seeing Congress and Senate take notice of cryptocurrency right now. which tells you this is something that they're trying to get grasp of before it becomes too big for them to handle.
Sure. So Jim, send me in a direction to go study. Where would I go learn more about this?
Oh gosh, Google's your friend. Hop onto Centraland. There's a couple different.
Spell that
Yeah, it's
CENTER.
a DECENTRALAND. The Centraland.
Land. Okay.
Yeah, and there's a lot of different crypto blogs out there that'll kind of give you a backstory on what it is, where it's come from. But it is an actual, there's not a lot of the cryptocurrency and a lot of those projects that are actually functioning. This is one that's functioning.
Yeah. So here's kind of follow up to that. Ryan Serhant said half of homes will be purchased with crypto. What do you think?
Oh,
I know my friend down in Miami, in MLS, you know how it says what acceptable currency? It says cash, FHA, conventional, and the crypto is a drop down option for the MLS in Miami, Florida.
Yep. I think I absolutely think we're going to see that. It's a more secure way. It's a faster way to do business. But if you want to see just how close we are to blockchain and crypto, go ask your favorite title company what they think about blockchain. Blockchain, as we start using it, think of blockchain as a technology. And as we have real estate transactions, every transaction gets stored within a little unit on this blockchain. And so whenever you go to sell a property, within minutes, not days or weeks, you will have your HOA docs, your deeds and restrictions, your title commitment, your survey, previous repairs, any photos, previous photos, just everything that's ever been documented about this house in this one little piece. And it gets pulled out in minutes. So you don't have this 21 days for title commitment. You don't have this 14, 17 days necessarily for your survey. Everything happens faster.
Yeah, and blockchain has long been the one thing that could disrupt the title industry as we know it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And blockchain is the technology that all of this metaverse, cryptocurrency, it's all thrived through. I find it interesting. If you're a real estate professional, I'm not saying you got to go understand the metaverse today, but you better understand crypto, because I can tell you that you're going to have a buyer or a seller within the next 18 months, expect to either buy or sell a transaction with cryptocurrency. And you're going to go, and you just better know how to navigate that conversation.
Yeah, and it's a safer transaction. You avoid a lot of fraud through it.
Mm-hmm. I've had clients on the real estate side ask me as I'm interviewing agents, how do you feel about cryptocurrency? And depending on how I answer that question, decide if they want to join me or not. And I can tell you, sellers are going to do that with agents at the table. Mm-hmm. Buyers are going to do that with buyer agents in relationship going, hey, how do you feel about cryptocurrency? And how you answer that will depend on whether or not they want to work with you or not. I think that's nuts. But anyway, moving on. Okay.
It's happening.
What did we not talk about? Are we having problems getting repairs done?
Yep.
I think the vendor relationships and the real estate professional are super important right now. And how do you have a priority relationship with your vendors, with somebody that can get something done? Because mark my word, we will have delayed closings over repairs in the future if this continues.
Right.
So it's just a reminder that those vendor relationships are really, really important to maintain, and treat your vendors relationally. Tell them thank you. Send them thank you cards. Send them. You want that relationship, so when you do have that moment and you need a favor, they take the call and prioritize it.
Yeah,
FYI.
absolutely. Now's the time to solidify your allied resources. I think you're exactly right. Get them Home Depot and Lowe's gift cards for making you a priority. And I think it's a good lead gen tool going into this year, because right now we have everybody just getting together for college football playoffs, for the NFL playoffs, for the Super Bowl.
We're done with all that, Jim. We're done with all that.
Too soon.
But you're getting a bunch of guys that are just griping that they can't get somebody to return their phone call. I had a client this last week that told me he's had numerous people come out to get a bid, and they're seeing the property and it's not a big enough project for them. So they're just not returning phone calls. And then others that just aren't returning phone calls anyways. I was able to send him one of our preferred vendors, and he got them in there within a couple of days. So looking at that situation, if we start calling back through our database and making posts and offering that out, a lot of times, and even if it's somebody else that they know, a lot of times when you start doing a lot of these repairs, sometimes it's just maintenance, but sometimes we're thinking about getting it on the market. And that's what this client of mine, he's thinking about going on the market in the next couple months.
And then you do that, and it solidifies the relationship with the vendor further, and they're going to put you top of the order as well, because you're scratching their back.
Yep.
So.
All right, guys. So I like to start and end on time. We're 2 minutes over. What's the talking point? If I'm an agent, I get into conversation. Give me a talking point to carry this week. Erika, go.
List now.
Yeah. Well, competent, low supply demands higher price.
That's right.
So if you wait until the rest of the sellers come on the market, you'll demand a lower price.
That's right.
Jim, what you got?
I'd say more of a plan of action. You know, don't let lack of inventory, lack of people maybe calling you, deter you from what you should be doing. That's lead genning. I think of what we just talked about. We always fret about, well, what am I going to talk to my database, which is always a crazy conversation to have with an agent, because these are people that like you. But what are you going to have a conversation with them about? How can you help them? Those repairs and getting a professional into their house, that is just another way for you to get out there, have a meaningful conversation that is real estate related, but they don't feel like they're being sold to.
You know, you could sit at a listing table, Jim, and say to a seller very confidently, I have priority relationships with vendors. So right now, you try to call a plumber. I can get a plumber to your house. And if that's the thing that is necessary to get the deal done, we have that. It's value.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Happy Monday. I will talk to you guys next week.
See you, Brett.
Monday.